does it feel like all of the 10th anniversary units kind of suck, and it's only been 6 months? I feel like you can't tell me that when you use the 10th anniversary units, they don't feel weak. Usually the main anniversary LR stay relevant for like the whole year after their release, but this year the power creep has left all of these units feeling completely underwhelming. I just want to take a look into why each unit is underperforming and what led to their fall off. I'm gonna start from the worst and work my way up the list. Please subscribe if you're new and comment your opinion even if you've got nothing nice to say, because I read every comment. Now let's get straight into the main topic. First of all, we got to talk about Daima Vegeta. He was meant to be a slot 1 unit, and even despite this design, he had L defense. I don't know what they were doing. They were missing like one bit of sauce that they could have added to actually make him the slot 1, but he completely fell off instantly on release. He was already struggling on release. So compare that to how hard events are now 6 months later. He absolutely does not hold up, and even with help he would be struggling. Looking at his unit design, I feel like he's just kind of mid, especially compared to Goku and Glorio. Those Daima units were so much fun to use. Goku's got that dodge mechanic where like he's getting stronger every time he takes an attack. He's got different buffs in different slots, and then you look at Glorio and it's like, wow, like he does like a million super attacks, and every time he super attacks he's getting marginally stronger. Like sure, Glorio's like falling off, and so is Daima Goku. Like they're not any like insane powerful units now, but Daima Vegeta released post 10th anniversary. Meanwhile Goku and Glorio released during the 9th year of Dokkan, so obviously they're not going to be anywhere near as strong as someone who came out after the 10th anniversary, yet Vegeta's closer to their level than he is to a 10th anniversary unit. Anyways, like the biggest disappointment with this unit is that it's such a missed opportunity on support, and that he can't even do the job that he's designed for. He's supposed to be this slot 1 tank with all this damage reduction, yet here we are with him completely struggling. I feel like maybe they could have given him stacking defense or maybe even guard, which would have made a massive difference. But like if his defense at least stayed, it would have been a big difference maker. Now, up next on the chopping block is Gohan. I feel like his defense just can't keep up anymore. He does okay damage, but there's just better options with better defense now. So it's just way too risky to run this guy just for his damage. Like think about how the newer units are hitting that 40 million attack stat with ease. At least 30 million. They just start at 30 million and then build up to 40 million in like a turn or two. So why run Gohan for all those additionals and all that extra damage if his defense is such a risk, when you have like the tag blue duo who are like doing it way better, have support, have that slot 1 tanking, and hit like a truck and can stack attack. I feel like bosses just have way too much health and do way too much damage for this guy's design to work now. He was a cool unit with cool like everything, cool animations, cool music, but they completely kind of fell off in the defense department. They could have done so much more with the defense for this guy, made him a little bit more viable, because 20% damage reduction and some guard is not going to cut it. I know he gets some defense when he gets attacked, so he can definitely survive some normals, but when it comes to some harder hitting dudes, this guy is not taking it even post super. And the reason I brought up the fact that health and damage for bosses has increased so much is this Gohan is, you know, he gets a little bit stronger and changes his whole setup to be like, instead of doing multiple attacks, he does like one big attack that does a ton of damage, like 50 million attack stat, right? But the thing about a 50 million attack stat is Omega can get that in like turn 1, so it's not all that impressive. And Omega does a couple additionals that are also doing like 30 mil or 40 mil or even 50 mil if you're rainbowed him. So the thing is, they wanted this Gohan to finish off fights, but he's not able to finish off fights by the time he gets to that 5th turn or whatever, and then has that big active skill or whatever. He's not able to do his job, and the fights are only getting harder as time goes on, so his defense isn't increasing, just his damage increases a little bit, and he's not able to finish the fight. So I feel like he's just struggling completely design wise, and I think for that reason he's probably like the 2nd worst off right now. So even though his design is for hitting hard, he's not hitting hard. He's getting out damaged basically. And the Tech Easy 8 SSJ2 is, you know, a lot better. Even though some people want to call him a stat merchant, he's definitely better. The youth team is basically this guy's only hope, and even with all the support coming from that team, he's still struggling. So I don't really know how to feel about this guy. He's definitely in a rough spot. So I mean, if you guys disagree, let me know in the comments, but I feel like these units are just falling off fast. Next up, we got to talk about Evo Vegeta, whose value basically only increased since he can run with the Vegeta and Trunks, and it's basically only in Festival of Battles. It's not like he's that much better in other content. He just got a little bit of a resurrection in Festival of Battles thanks to VNT. And yes, Gohan also fits on that team, but Vegeta has that rainbow orb changing, and he's also got way more damage reduction. So I think it's way more viable to run this Vegeta over this Gohan, especially like later on into the phases, because if he stacks up enough defense thanks to VNT, he's got at least like 60% damage reduction, and he's got a chance at having 72% damage reduction. So with that support and the damage reduction, it makes a massive difference, and I feel like he can hold his own into even the later stages of Festival Battles. But him only being more viable in one niche event doesn't really help his case of being a too good of a unit. I think obviously his main issue is still that he's way too ki hungry, because needing 10 orbs every time just to get his damage reduction maxed out is a bit ki hungry, if we're being honest. So yeah, I mean, there you go. That's about it for Vegeta. He's gotten a bit of an improvement thanks to that support, but I still don't think he's all that good. So he's third in my ranking for 10th anniversary units so far. Now, next up, we got to talk about Go Frieza. Funnily enough, this guy was hated on by far the most on release. Everyone said he was the worst anniversary unit, and I feel like out of all of them, he managed to age the best. And it's once again the Vegeta and Trunks Easy A that helps him out a lot. But the other thing that helps him out a ton is that the Goku side of this unit can last. He's got guard and damage reduction, and that's a big difference maker, since if you can manage to keep him safe for until Goku comes out, then he's pretty much good for most of the fight. Like, his defense will hold up, and post super in that slot 3, he's a solid enough floater unit. But if you have Vegeta and Trunks on the team, then he can stack up, especially in those long events, and make a huge difference. Because think about it, if you have like 1,000,000 defense and also 60 something% damage reduction plus guard, that is no joke. That is a big amount of defense to have. That is nothing to scoff at. So if you get that support going, this Goku side of Goku and Frieza can definitely hold out. Conditional damage reduction is still an absolute nightmare and makes it almost impossible to get to that Goku side of the unit. So basically, you got to build this guy full dodge and hope you just survive until Goku comes out. And that's not a good look. So that's why I'm saying, like, obviously, he's still definitely on this list of how, you know, the 10th anniversary completely fell off. Because if he takes a hit from an AoE or something, or even just a normal, he's just cooked. And all you got to hope is he survives the normal and gets the 50% damage reduction to proc. And even then, he's still kind of cooked. It's kind of ridiculous how they designed this. They should have just gave him the 50% damage reduction. Like, it would have still been a fair unit. Like, it's not like it would have been like, oh my god, he got the damage reduction, he's so busted. No, it's just like he would have been able to hold his own until Goku comes out way easier than how we have to do it now, which is just pray for dodge and hide him. Now, the next unit might surprise you, but it's Gogeta, right? We all know Vegito was the better unit out of these two, but even so, these two I feel like did not age that well. Beast Gohan was good for almost the whole year, but that was because his defense was the best right off the bat. So no matter what you were facing, Beast Gohan could just tank for you. And then, you know, his active was available one turn after getting hit, making him incredibly useful for everything. So we can all agree that Beast Gohan lasted that whole year with ease. The only thing he didn't do good in is longer events. So I feel like the problem is this Vegeta is supposed to have enough defense to last until Goku can dodge or Gogeta can come out to finish the fight. The problem is he just doesn't have the defense to tank. Even that guard and 300% defense, he still struggles. So imagine when it wears off and he hasn't stacked any defense. He, like, yes, by then you're supposed to go into Goku, but like if you were ever planning to just have his Vegeta out and you accidentally mess up, like, I mean, that's your fault, but still, like, he's screwed. But the thing is, the problem is, even with the 300% defense and the guard, he's still getting cooked. So like AoEs will just murder this guy. He is bad on defense. That we need to get out of the way. At least when Goku's out, he's stacking defense and he has a high chance to dodge. But the biggest issue with that Goku is he's forced to be slot 1. He's far more reliable, and the Ghost Usher is pretty handy, but like you're almost always going to use Gogeta, since Gogeta's the better option to just bring him out for 4 turns. So I don't know. The other thing is, for being, you know, this main unit, like Vegeta and Goku don't hit that hard compared to the more recent units. Like even fully link leveled, if you're only at a 55% copy, they're only hitting like 20 mil or whatever when they start the fight. Yes, I know they stack attack in their first forms, but it takes quite a while to get up to a high number. Like 40 mil will take you quite a while to get up there. Yeah, Gogeta's good, at least when he comes out. Gogeta absolutely manages to keep up with the current units, but he only lasts a few turns, meaning if the boss you're fighting with like 1 billion HP manages to survive and you go back to Goku and Vegeta, you're kind of in a tough spot, especially with the active skill already used up. When it comes to Vegito, who's the next unit I want to talk about, he's a very similar case, but the fact that he has damage reduction instead of just 300% defense and guard, it definitely helps a lot, especially when there's units on the team that give like a bunch of support. So I know he loses, I think 50% of the damage reduction after a few turns, which makes his defense suffer immensely. But then at least the Vegeta side of him is a very good slot 1 tank with 70% damage reduction and guard in slot 1. So yeah, you're losing out on a lot of damage, but at least this side of Vegeta is far more reliable, and he's not a dodge or die kind of like design. So yeah, I mean, these units are a bit different, but I prefer Vegito just because the tanking is far more reliable than, you know, dodge or die, which I just said. But the other thing is, Tech Vegito is just a way better design than AGL Gogeta simply when it comes to defense. And when Tech Vegito comes out for those few turns, his damage output is still more than Gogeta just because of the counters. So if you play the counters right, he's putting out more damage than Gogeta even with that active up. And also the thing about Gogeta is the big damage is when he pops his active, right? You get that huge boost. Everybody's got those crazy stats. Like that's great and all. It's a great active, but he doesn't even hit that hard if we're really gonna go there. The GDC units will like obliterate the boss with that active up. Meanwhile, Gogeta's like had a good, you know, 60 to 80 mil depending on how much you stacked up. Meanwhile, you pop out with the GDC units and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna hit like 99.99999 billion damage. So like, I don't know what to say. I mean, they're all designed differently, and yes, I know they came out 6 months later for basically like the global version of the anniversary, I guess, since it's a global download celebration. But like the 10th anniversary units fell off fast. They could have held back a little bit on the power creep. I feel like it's just such a struggle now to get to the good parts of Gogeta and Vegito, especially if you're going into fights with AoEs, which I know is like a stupid argument, but like even fights with normals that hit like quite hard, these two might struggle. So yeah, that's my complaints with the two main Dokkan Fest LRs that we got during the 10th anniversary. But the real question is like, when you get to this point, it's like, why even run these units if the only place they're really viable now is Festival of Battles and older events? Vegito as a whole does hold up better than Gogeta, like Gogeta does as a unit, but it's just because of the damage reduction in the early form. So I don't know. These two are still very similar, but I have my complaints. I just feel like they're completely underwhelming, you know, an anniversary level unit, especially the main units, which are the fusions, right? Like the fusions were always the biggest thing. But you look at many of the other anniversaries and it's always like the main LRs lasted so long. Like they lasted the whole year at least. Here we are 6 months in and these units are getting completely overshadowed. So I mean, that's just where we are, I guess. Power creep is moving faster. It's definitely kind of crazy though, with every unit hitting 30 millions and 50 millions and even 70 millions on turn 1. It's kind of crazy. I think the meta has completely shifted. I think they kind of moved it from the meta was long fights, and then they instantly changed it to bosses that just hit harder than anything right away. So it's like they kind of screwed over the 10th anniversary units who need to take their time, that are like slower units. But maybe they're just trying to give us a variety in teams. But my question is, why even run those units even in other stuff? Because people are running the GDC units in Festival of Battles and they're holding up pretty good too. So, you know, there's a lot to talk about, but the thing is, I just think the 10th anniversary units aged out way too quickly, and I'm kind of sad about it. But the last unit I want to talk about is SSJ4 Goku. And basically the sole reason I'm putting him up here is pretty obvious. It's his crazy defensive support and his insane team. Heroes are completely busted right now, and buffing AGL SSJ4 Gogeta even more defensively helps a ton, especially in these events that are like hitting millions and millions of damage. His support is just indispensable on the GT Heroes team. He helps so much. Giving damage reduction support plus 70% defense is ridiculous. Like, people will probably forget how good that is and how much of a difference that makes, but it makes a big difference. His defense is definitely getting a bit questionable, but at least his first form has dodge and the giant ape is invincible. So for about 4 turns, you can kind of chill and just not take damage at all. But the hardest part of running this guy is keeping him safe until he stacks up to a point where he can probably tank a lot of stuff. Luckily, his team is so good though, you can make it work. Like, it's not like this guy is your main problem is, well, just how much damage the bosses do now. So I guess he is your main problem, but you know what I mean? Like, he's offering so much that it's worth running that risk. And I guess if you give him like a full dodge build and let him just stack up and give him always the safest position, you can probably survive. But you've also got tons of support coming from other units on the team. So GT Heroes works well together. But yeah, I just think this team is so good that it basically makes this Goku the best aging unit out of the 10th anniversary units that we've gone so far, just because he managed to earn that spot on the GDC kind of team. With all these new units, he still earns that spot, unlike all the other units we've talked about. That's why I think this SSJ4 is probably the best aging out of all the 10th anniversary units, which I know I'm saying over and over, but you get what I'm saying, right? So you basically can't run most of these units just because the start of fight defense is so weak. They'll just get absolutely obliterated by most of these bosses that are starting out in their hardest forms, or just have one form or whatever, or have too much health and gain tons of stats as the fight goes on. So like, while Gohan's gaining 200% stats, you got in 2 stacks, and then he just one-shots you the next turn. I don't know. Let me know down below if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like the 10th anniversary units fell off completely and are only useful in certain events and conditions, which is not normal for an anniversary release. Most years, these units like last and stay at the top for basically the whole year, but we're barely 6 months in and they're being completely outshined by a noticeable amount. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and bye.